Thank you for listening to this episode of RoadSigns, the podcast series from Transport Topics that explores the trends and technologies that are shaping the future of trucking. I'm your co-host, Michael Fries. In the pages of Transport Topics, we read a lot about the big things that are going on in the industry. So for this episode, we really want to get into the specifics of these particular stories and how it affects certain segments of the industry. And for this episode, we're going to talk about trailer maintenance. And you're asking yourself, what does trailer maintenance have to do with the overall encompassing nature of the trucking industry? Well, it has a lot to do with it. And typically in these episodes, we would ask a question, does trailer maintenance management impact the trucking industry? And the answer would be a resounding yes. But for this episode, we want to ask, how does trailer maintenance management impact your trucking operation? And for the answer, we're going to go to an expert in the field, as well as our first time RoadSigns guest, Justin Olsen. He's the maintenance director with TCW, and he is also the study group head for the S7 group, which contains trailers, bodies, and material handling. Welcome to the show, Justin.
Thank you.
Glad to have you on. One of the things before we get into trailer management and trailer repair, I just want you to introduce yourself to our audience and tell us your role as the maintenance director with TCW, and also how does it involve the macro in which you are part of the study group with S7.
All right. Yeah. Justin Olsen, of course. I've been with TCW for the last 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, I was with the dealerships and became a service manager. And that's how I got onto where I was with the fleets and just helping them, become better at saving them money at the dealer side.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then I came over here, took over, and we had outsourced maintenance and completely in our company, and they wanted to bring in-house. So that's where I was brought in, and we've been doing that for the last 10 years, and it has helped tremendously. They've cut costs, and biggest overlooked item was trailers, and they knew that. And being that, they end up purchasing about 2,000 trailers. So now trailers is a real big topic here at TCW.
I just want to clarify one thing I didn't mention in your introduction. With you being the head of the study group of trailers, I had forgot to mention it is part of the Technology and Maintenance Council. So, you definitely have some work within that organization, and as you had mentioned, there's a lot to cover.
In the face of uncertainty, some things remain steady, like the Cummins 2027 X15, built on 25 plus years of experience and delivering up to 4% better fuel efficiency in a weight-neutral system. The X15 gives you the strength to move forward fearlessly and confidence that no matter the obstacle, you can and will rise above it. The 2027 X15, forever rising. Estimates based on preliminary testing. Individual results may vary.
Okay, let's just kind of get right into it. In your position, and definitely, when you were talking about trailers, what's the most common maintenance issues that fleets face when it comes to trailers?
Biggest one that we always face is tires. Always has been. Just from run flats or just any type of tire issue that'll happen from blowouts going down the road.
And also, too, when it comes to preventive maintenance, I'm pretty sure that the burden of greasing, that's that's definitely something that one of the many issues that keeps you up at night. When I guess in a whole scale, could you elaborate on that?
Absolutely. No, it does, because that's one of the biggest overlooked items is just doing your PMs on the trailers.
Hmm.
We try to bring them in every 3 months. With as many chassis that we actually have, it's hard for us to do that. So we bring them in as often as we can. But if you don't sit there and grease the chassis itself, you end up leading into further problems down the road. It might not be today or tomorrow, but 5-10 years from now, when you're doing a brake job, then you're having to replace an S-cam or S-cam bushings or both.
Mhm. You know, one of the things, definitely facing that problem. Um, I know it's a kind of overcomplicating question, but and a quite simple one as that as well. How can those particular things be avoided? We can't, we can't just subtract all these particular issues and problems that we have with maintenance. But how can some of these things be minimized?
Our best bet is make sure you have a good tracking software for your PMs that you do on your trucks.
Hmm.
That you have your trailers added in there with it. That way, when there's a flag comes up that hey, it's time that we bring this in, or when you have if you have a service lane, if you're a bigger operation, you bringing it in and that flags saying hey, this trailer needs to be worked on. So that's the biggest type things that we see. Um, we have it set up in our software where we do our DOTs at the exact same time. So our owner operators and our trailers are all done in a 3 month period. So we're always trying to get them in as quickly as possible.
Okay. Kind of, seeping into the inspection cycles. Just the goal is to the limit the downtime, of course, and not have those trailers sitting idle for a long period of time. Is there any particular process with the urines inspections that help that helps move it forward? I mean, are there any little kinks that you have ironed out? I mean, in years of experience in doing this. I mean, is there? I know there's not like a magic bullet, but is there one particular thing you can point to that sort of improves the process when it comes to inspection cycles?
You bet. Our inspection cycles, is being as we stay on them, is having that check sheet. That check sheet is so important for them technicians.
Hmm.
If you're following down a check sheet and then you start seeing other repairs that are needed at that time and you start seeing a trend with that, then you
Hmm.
start adding things like that to your check sheet. That way you catch them before anything happens later down the road. We're always trying to stay ahead of it because we don't want to have breakdowns on the road. You always want
Hmm.
to do them in house if you can, or when you're getting your PMs done, if you are on the road like a single fleet owner operator. That way they can have it done then instead of something catching later down the road on a breakdown.
Okay. Well, let's talk about sort of the benefits or maybe slash disadvantages of in-house maintenance. I mean, I know, I mean, in your house, you have a good handle on making sure everything's is up and snuff when it comes to the trailers. But, is there a sort of like maybe a hybrid method, or is it just kind of, I mean, I know, like, again, no silver bullet, but what are some of the advantages of in-house maintenance, and what ways does it work, and what ways for some fleets does it not work, or needs to be an alternative type of solution?
All right. Well, our biggest thing is with TCWs. We're a hub and spoke type carrier, so we're like Southeastern Freight Lines, where they go out and they come back. We're all day cab operations, so in-house maintenance will always work for us. But we do have disadvantages as well, because we have a 7-to-1 ratio on our trailers. Those chassis end up sitting at a customer. It could be almost a year. I've got some chassis I know up in Virginia that have sat there over a year. Well,
Mm.
now I got to call a customer out there to come do a DOT or and check to make sure everything's good to go. So that's our biggest disadvantages. Now, when it comes to over the road, which I used to be when I had my own trucking company, is you only have one place to get everything done. So now you got to get everything done on the road. So in-house maintenance only works when that vehicle is actually in your place of business. So the disadvantages then is you're trying to minimize as many costs as you can when you're on the road. So when you are back home, you can take care of most of them then. Honestly, it's a big cost factor is the most thing, but you also don't want to have a breakdown because breakdowns
Okay.
just lead to higher maintenance costs no matter what.
Okay. I kind of want to ask a side question, Justin. Just saying, you used to run your own owner operator.
I did.
Okay. What especially when you're talking about maintenance, because being an owner operator, it's definitely a different perspective versus, you're in a, bigger fleet, and, you're part of a department that handles that particular situation. What are some of the differences, And being in those two particular spots that maybe gave you an eye opening or epiphany of how fleet maintenance is run.
Biggest one is cost. I mean, I learned I was a mechanic before I became an owner operator. I went to diesel school and all that. Worked for a
Mm-hmm.
couple fleets beforehand, so I did have a little bit of a angle on my own self by able to do a lot of my repairs myself. Trailers, I could almost get that trailer home every single time, and I never had to do any work on the outside unless it was a tire. That was the biggest thing that I was able to see, and that philosophy is exactly what I brought into the service department when I was at the dealership, and also in the fleet that I'm at now. So that's the biggest thing that always ran most of the stuff in my head, because costs is everything to a company. We're one of the highest expenses in a fleet,
Mm-hmm.
and we're trying to minimize that as much as possible.
It's definitely a puzzle, when it comes to that.
In the face of uncertainty, some things remain steady, like the Cummins 2027 X15, built on 25 plus years of experience and delivering up to 4% better fuel efficiency in a weight-neutral system. The X15 gives you the strength to move forward fearlessly and confidence that no matter the obstacle, you can and will rise above it. The 2027 X15, forever rising. Estimates based on preliminary testing. Individual results may vary.
Can you speak a little bit about the tech training involved when it comes to ensuring proper maintenance practices, especially with trailers? I mean, it's definitely a different beast. And just being a director, how are you laying out the education and just the continuous improvement for your techs to make sure that when these problems that we were just discussing arise, that they can be handled efficiently and quote unquote by the book, so the standards are in check.
First thing is of course with the TMC, we have many RPs that are out there to help the technicians. All they got to do is get in there. And plus, I also use the RPs to help with training myself. They've got a couple certification ones. They've got a training RP, so that's one place you can start at. But as far as the training, the first thing I look at is going to who I have my trailers bought from. Like we've got Pratt and we've got Wabash and Utility. So you
Mm-hmm.
start going to them to see what training they have at the OEM level. Your second thing is always going to be aftermarket, because
Mm-hmm.
every part that you put on that trailer or truck actually has training for the most part. You got everything from Jost has training that's online. They'll also come in. That's one of the things that we always look at is who can come to me, who can train my guys in person. That way it's hands on. Because online training, you can do that all day long. But the problem is with online training is you can only go so far. Not everybody
Right.
is able to look at that. I'm not at times. Sometimes it's easier for me to be, put my hands on it and know what I'm doing. Other thing I see that is lacking the most part, and this is even in my shops, is electrical training. Technicians can't grasp that. So that's the biggest thing that I try to teach them myself, because that's one of the things that I went to school for. I went with Caterpillar, I went with Peterbilt. Sorry if I'm not supposed to say manufacturers' names, but that's who I was with.
Well, we already said Wabash and Utility, so
Oh my gosh, listen to me.
so if we're in trouble, we're all the way. So, but we're not in trouble.
Absolutely.
So you're absolutely fine, Justin.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, that's where I went and learned. There's plenty of aftermarket companies that actually help with electrical training as well. I know they come up to help us out with the Super Tech competition in years past. But, get your technicians trained. That's one of the biggest things, because I see that going down the line, and I hate to go straight into the future side of trailers, but it's already here. Is CAN buses and
Mm-hmm.
things like that. It's coming, and technicians need to
Mm-hmm.
understand how that works. And if they don't understand electrical, you're going to have an issue there.
There's one great thing that you had mentioned, Justin, when we were talking about technicians from the beginning of your answer. We were you touched upon the the Wallbashes and the Utilities of the world. and working with them with training, but also, from our, previous conversation, you had mentioned that, warranty issues or a good, or a great concern. Could you elaborate on that, and just in what ways are, warranties kind of, or that concern, and what are the things that you're doing or what other fleets can do to, alleviate those concerns when it comes to warranties? Because I know there's many conversations going back and forth, probably in your office, let alone many maintenance managers.
Warranty is always going to be a concern because, I mean, any way you can offset your cost per mile, you want to do that as much as possible. We handle all our warranty in house through the truck manufacturer. We also do it through our trailer manufacturers, and we've had success. There's the biggest problem is the trailers are really built so darn good.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you do have some issues here and there, and when they do arise, you got to stay on top of them because if you don't understand that warranty agreement that is the manufacturer has sent out, you're going to be behind the ball, and then you'll end up being paying for something that you shouldn't have to pay for. So anytime that you can do that uh, and offset it, either by doing it yourself and getting the money that way, or sending it out to a dealership and having them to handle it, will help you in the long run. So we have always done in-house warranty, which is great, being we're a larger fleet. Um, Smaller fleets it kind of doesn't work as well because they're looking at the 100 plus truck outfit. But
Mm-hmm.
once you're able to get to that point, that then you can start offsetting a lot of your issues that you have, and then you can start keeping your downtime down because you don't have to put your trailer in the shop. Because anytime we know that we send a truck or a trailer to a dealership or a, independent, they end up taking so much time because they're so backed up as it is now.
Mm-hmm. Well, with the folks that are listening to us today, maybe some of them have less than 100 in their fleet, and they're going through these situations as you are. What are some of the things that they could do differently in the sense of not being in that threshold, but still they still got to move product out to throughout the country.
Absolutely. The biggest thing they can do is get a relationship with your vendors, with your dealership that you're working with, and to schedule things like that in if it's not that's critical. That, and also reach out to that manufacturer. They may have a loophole where you can get in and actually start filing them warranties themselves. Depends on who it is. They may let you do that warranty. It's the most that you can do is the best because you end up reaping the rewards off of that. Plus, you save yourself from that downtime. But
Oh.
dealership, relationships is extremely important. That's one that I strive with my technicians. I don't handle that completely, but I try to leave that at the shop level as much as possible, and letting them handle that and creating that that relationship has worked for our benefit every single time.
Mm-hmm. It's great that you had spoken about just reacting to the situations that were on the ground, especially on the micro level in your position with the fleet that you're working with. But also, there's the macro sense where there's certain stories that come about. For instance, last year, there was the the settlement from against the trailer manufacturer last year, and it really kind of boiled down to the rear underride guard. Just for just a summary for our audience, there was a trailer manufacturer that had a settlement against them that was decided by a judge, and it was for a fatal accident where the car I'm sorry, where the car ran into the back of a trailer and the rear underride guard failed. Unfortunately, the driver and the passenger were fatally injured. But however, there was a $100+ million lawsuit in that particular settlement. But that also raised the issue of the inspections of their of that rear guard, and pending on that was a sort of a sticker. Correct me if I'm wrong, Justin. A sticker that would verify the
Yes.
the verify the safeness of the guard, but that sticker would be worn out throughout the life of the trailer, or in some cases just ripped off, and that would also result in a violation. But there was a lot of problems, issues concerning that, and just how the industry it came together on that. And I guess my question for you, Justin, is just having the industry come together in an instance with that. There was ATA was involved as well, just in the legal sense of just making sure that those particular issues can be resolved. Just making sure that there's some type of certification or notification that a trailer is up to snuff. So, but I just kind of wanted to ask you just your involvement with that, and just the conversations you had with that, and just ensuring, with all the trucking competitors that are there, but at the same time, you guys are maintenance managers, and you have to fix this problem collectively. Could you talk about those conversations and how things were resolved?
You bet. Yeah,
Hmm.
we had quite a few conversations at the
Yeah.
TMC.
Hmm.
Um, it's been in the roundtable, and it's also been in RS7 group as well.
Hmm.
Thankfully, I just seen that just came out through email that DOT has proposed to remove that requirement for the rear
Hmm.
bumper certification. Thankfully,
Hmm.
hopefully that does pass through. But right now, the way I understand is that they're not ticketing anybody for that. Is the way I hear.
Okay.
Not, I've not
Yes.
been involved in any of that, but I can tell you right now, our dry vans, which we've got about 200 of them, they have that sticker, and I took a picture of it, just for our S7 study group, and I couldn't read half the stuff that was on there. I
Hmm.
mean, they just get worn so bad, and them actually removing this requirement is a game changer, because it's a frivolous ticket, in my opinion, from all the years that I've been in this industry, and it's wrong. Um,
Hmm.
Now, I understand where they came from, where they were wanting it certified, where they put an aftermarket bumper on there. I know that was one of the things that I've heard of. Um, but as long as it's made by a reputable company, I don't see where there'd be a problem with that one.
Hmm.
Um, it's a shame that the OEM that got involved in that lawsuit, and then with all this come down the line, and then the side impact guards as well.
Hmm. Yeah, it's it's definitely an unfortunate, situation, but I mean, to the resolution, it took the matter of the industry, just, coming together. And, that's that was the aspect that really, came out to me, and, something, that's an issue, and, just the application of common sense, um, solutions, helps move things forward. Justin, before we let you go, in your first time here at the Road Signs podcast, I want you to put your analyst hat on, and let's talk about the future of trailer maintenance, and what are some of the things that you're seeing, especially on the ground level, that would be that will help trailer maintenance, and those who do trailer maintenance perform more effectively. What are some of the things that you're watching?
The future of these trailers is all the sensors that are out there and available. We've got
Hmm.
telematics, that work for the truck, work for the trailer, and ours are separate. One day they'll end up having where it's combined, and which will be great. But I see the harness itself is going to end up having, multiplex is where I see things going down the road with the CAN bus and all, which ends up going back to the technicians being trained for it, is because there's just going to be so much information that's going to be run through that chassis or trailer, depending on what kind you have, and if it's being able to be sent back to the shops or back into dispatch, that's the joy of it.
Hmm.
But we're also going into data overload. So I see a lot of that coming in the future. Um, it's just there's so much that will actually be out there. I'm really excited about the J560 plug, seeing where that's going to head to, because that right there is what's going to really tell us where everything is going to be, with CAN and the ability of how much we can push through that trailer.
I know that the data overload, I guess for most fleet managers, it would be paralysis by analysis. So
right.
So yeah, definitely. This is definitely a great conversation, and for those wanting to know more about trailer maintenance, we've just scratched the surface on this, but this is a great place to start, and definitely, and from where I'm standing, trailer maintenance is a very hot issue, and it definitely affects all the tentacles of the trucking industry. And we've been speaking with Justin Olsen. He is the maintenance director with TCW, and he is also the study group head of S7, Trailers, Bodies, and Material Handling for the Technology and Maintenance Council. Justin, it was a pleasure having you on, and thanks for making us smarter.
Thank you, Michael.
Before we close, let's take a moment to revisit our previous question. How does trailer maintenance management impact your trucking operation? First, a big thanks to Justin Olsen from TCW for joining us on this episode of RoadSigns. In our conversation, he gave us a primer on fleet trailer maintenance and how he, as a maintenance director, manages his fleet operation. There are so many areas of the trucking industry that's important for success. Maintaining the health of a trailer, where the cargo's at, is most likely in every maintenance manager's top 5 concerns. Olsen made clear of the daily issues like warranties, PMs, and tech training that often plague operations, and offered plenty of practical solutions. He also demonstrated through his work at the Technology and Maintenance Council that there is always a place for collaboration and solving the common issues concerning trailer maintenance. If you enjoyed this episode of RoadSigns, please let others know. Rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Feel free to reach out to the RoadSigns team on X at TT RoadSigns, or reach me at Michael V. Fries. You can email us at share@ttnews.com. We'll read them and respond daily. Also, let us know how we're doing by texting TT Survey to 571-622-0001. And of course, we'll be back soon with a new episode of RoadSigns. Until then, I'm Michael Fries. Thank you for listening.
Did you know you can ask Alexa to open Transport Topics? In just 1 minute, you will hear the biggest trucking headlines of that day. Be prepared and start your morning off right with Transport Topics.